Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Sawcruhteez Streamz, and I am your host, Sawcruhteez. It has been a little while since the last stream. A lot has happened, so that will give us plenty to talk about today. I don't know how long this will last, but I do have a number of things that I'm wanting to cover. So thank you all for tuning in. I'm sure that this will give you a lot to chew on one way or the other, and hopefully we're able to get through everything that I've got written down, because like I said, there are a number of things that I'm wanting to touch on in today's stream. So before diving right in, did want to just mention a big UFC fight happening tonight. Conor McGregor is fighting Cowboy Cerrone, and I am similar to a lot of other UFC fans in that I love watching Conor McGregor fight. He is very exciting, and it should be a really good matchup between him and Cowboy. I'm trying to figure out what sort of action I want to take. I do want to make a bet. I'm not in love with betting on Conor to win. I think he's like -3 to 1, something like that, -300. What I'm looking at is something like McGregor winning by decision. That looks like it's about a 7-to-1 payout, if I'm right. Cowboy can definitely get knocked out, but if they stand and bang the whole fight, and he's able to protect himself, that does seem like some decent odds. Either going to go McGregor by knockout in the first couple of rounds or McGregor by decision. Haven't quite made up my mind yet. We'll still have to wait and see. So anybody out there watching tonight, cheers to you. UFC is my absolute favorite sport to watch. Doesn't get any better than a good fight. I wish the card was a little stronger. It's kind of a weak card, but what are you going to do? Okay, so let's dive right in. The most important thing to me right now is this bear channel that we have been stuck in for about 6 months or so, and we are currently testing the top threshold. There are a number of different ways that this channel can be drawn. A lot of people are viewing this channel as already being broken, and I disagree with that. I do think we are currently testing the top of this channel. I have spent some time drawing this as precisely as I possibly can using the parallel channel tool, making sure that the lines are parallel. And then what I look for is number of touch points, number of closes, and no closes outside. So here we look at how I have it drawn. I am believe strongly that this is the best way to draw it, and I'll show you why. And that's based on those rules I just outlined. What I wanted was to make sure we touch this candle, this, and make sure that we don't close below. So we've got those touch points, and then come down here, make sure we don't close below here, wicking below, touch points, wicking below, no closes below, and then comes down, touches this point, and also this point. A lot of the channels that are people are drawing that are shown as already being broken, they're not touching this candle here. It's more angled down. I don't want to mess this up, but just picture it if it was down this way, like at a steeper angle this way, and then steeper angle this way, it wouldn't account for this touch point here. So like I said, I look for a number of touch points and prefer to connect with closes, and want to make sure that there are no closes outside. So this has the most number of touch points, the most number of closes, and does not have a close outside. So for my rules, that bottom one is exactly how I want to draw it, and it lines up very nicely with the top one as well. Here we get to use this close and connect to this close, and this close, wicks above, no closes above. And then important that we touch this wick here, and then that brings us down to testing it right now. So again, the bottom boundary is drawn as the best fit line, and so is the top, taking into account the most closes and also the most touch points. So this is the channel as far as I'm concerned. If you want to draw it differently, that's fine, but I do not, and I feel confident that this is how it should be being drawn. So something to pay attention to as we are at testing this trend resistance. We are also nearing point of exhaustion on the TD sequential. Right now we're on a 7. And as we're testing this top boundary, once we get to the 7, 8, 9, that's a pretty darn strong indication that we should find some resistance and make some sort of pullback over the coming days. In previous episodes, I was outlining why I bought this right here, basically to cover a short, not to go long, but to cover a short, due to getting a 9 at trend support, the bottom of the channel, and there was some horizontal support from this established low. So we were horizontal and trend on a 9. Could be getting the kind of other side of the token here, where absolutely you can say this is horizontal resistance. You know, if you want to draw a line like that, support, resistance, support, resistance. So here we are at horizontal resistance as well as trend resistance, and we are on a 7. So that gives us 2 more days before getting to a 9, and therefore I think it's time to pay very, very close attention. Definitely not a time to be long. This is absolutely not an area to be buying. This is an area where I am only focused on hedging my long exposure, and the way that I do that is through trimming and taking partial profit. So before moving forward, let's just see what, notice how 9s that occur around this trend line are really strong indications. Here we got a 9 that was a little above. We did come down and make a bottom. So this being on a 1, 2, 3, it's a lot different when it's following a 9 without any correction. So this is like a, 10, 11, 12. That's when the countdown starts. So had a 9 there, bounce 9, got a bounce after it tested support. Let's see what else we got. 9 right here. 9 right here. 9 right here. Notice 7 right here. Didn't get to the 9. It petered out at the trend opposed to getting to the 9. And 9 up here. Let's take a look at the 2-day. 9 right here. That was awfully close to a 9 right here. We got this price flip that barely price flipped. That would have been 6, 7, 8. That would have been an 8 if that didn't. 8 right there. 9 up here. And 8 here. So we should be getting a daily and a 2-day 9 that occur at the same time. And if that's happening while we're at a confluence of horizontal and trend resistance, then it's something I want to pay very, very close attention to. So daily, 2-day TD sequential are telling us that a top should be near, at least a local top. Weekly is looking very strong with this 2 above the 1 with some nice, good, strong bodied candles. While we're on this, I think it was last episode I talked about using the 4 and the 9 EMA. I'm not going to go through it all again, but just notice how good of signals this will provide for selling and buying. Buying here, selling here, avoiding that here, and then crossing now. Candle will close tomorrow, and unless we retrace in a big way in a very short amount of time, these will cross when the candle closes, and that is a pretty darn sweet setup. Seeing these moving averages cross with a 2 above a 1, that tells me that there should be a lot more room to the upside, and this is something where I just mentioned how this isn't a buying opportunity. If you are trading the weekly, that 2 above the 1 right here provided a very interesting opportunity. If you missed it, waiting for a 3 above a 2 makes a lot more sense to me. Waiting for us to actually break through this trend resistance. Like right now, we're at a very critical level of resistance. It's very obvious that this pattern has been very important over the last 6 months. And as long as we're here, we should expect it to hold. And if we do break out, then we can look to buy a pullback. But as it stands right now, this is resistance. This is absolutely not a place to buy if there's a little bit of further development, and it means we end up paying a higher price but getting a much higher probability in some sort of setup like that. Say we end up paying a little bit higher price, that's fine, because we are now getting very, very strong signs of a reversal, opposed to, at this time, just testing a major critical area of resistance. And that's definitely not a buying opportunity, even though the weekly does look very strong and looks like there's plenty of room to the upside. This is an area where I think it's either do nothing or take some profit on longs that were already established. Okay, so we covered the bear channel with the TD sequential. Let's just go ahead and keep it on some higher time frame. I want to pull up a different chart so that I can keep my channel on there. Okay. I guess before jumping into some of these things, let's go ahead and talk about how I'm positioned, how and why. I think I was still short in the last show. I can't remember exactly when I did it, but essentially I went short due to the signal from MSR at 86.30. Held on to that, took partial profit right here. Took 20% off the table here, and about 25-30% off the table at 66. So I was in really good shape, having trimmed at good prices relative to where I entered, and then I was able to hold on and just wait for the following signal. So that signal occurred at 78.98, and I executed. Exited the remainder of my short position at basically 7,900, and that turned into a very nice trade, having again trimmed down in here, and then exited the rest. I don't know, what's that, 10% lower or so from the entry, and then very quickly turned around and entered long due to signal from MSR. This is how I trade, and there are some times where I'll go against it. Maybe I'll get into that, but there's very specific rules that I have for that, and I'm basically always going to be executing signals on Bitcoin and Ethereum, or doing my absolute best, doing the best of my ability. So when we got this closed short signal, I was really feeling confident that a bottom was in, due to the Wyckoff pattern, due to the test of the adoption curve, due to the stuff that we'll talk about today with the moving averages, the Ichimoku cloud, the parabolic SAR. Everything was lining up, telling me that this was a high probability for a bottom, but I still held on to my short because I hadn't gotten a signal to exit. There's a lot of times where I think everything's lining up and I just turn out to be flat wrong, and that's happened to me enough to know that I just have to stick to the plan, stick to the system. I wanted to start buying, getting long down in here, but it was just too risky. The trend was still down. I was in a short that was moving in my favor, and think of it like a business owner. If you have a short position that's making you money, if you've got a product that's making you money, like getting rid of that and entering into something that is, hasn't been making money. Basically, shorts have been making money. to exit that and get into a long, you don't want to do it as long as the trend is still bearish, as far as I'm concerned. I want to keep letting a position move in my favor as long as the trend is in my direction. So even though this really looked like it was building a bottom, I had to wait for confirmation and wait for my trend tools to reverse before I wanted to A, exit my short, and B, go long. So I did enter long right when this signaled, and then I also bought this pullback. I had orders at 78 right here, and also at 76. 76 didn't quite get filled, and the 78 did get filled at a good price. So yeah, that's the position that I am in, is long from about 8,000, maybe 8,050, something like that. And now in a very short amount of time, I'm up about 10% on that. So again, it's kind of the inverse of this situation where it moved 10% in my favor in a short amount of time, even more. So I wanted to go ahead and take some profits to basically hedge my bets, take a little profit off the table, let the rest ride. Now that's what I'm thinking about here. Do I take some profit on this long? Do I let it all ride? If I do want to take profit, how much? So that's what I've been trying to figure out over these last couple days, trying to dance through this minefield. Like seeing that worked right how I wanted it to, basically, in terms of trend was still bearish all the way through here, and then as soon as we broke out here, now the trend started turning bullish, and that's right where my system waited to get me out of my short, and then waited for even further confirmation before getting me long. So that was a great setup. I've been very, very bullish over the last, basically since the start of this year, on my Twitter, on my TradingView, and I guess probably a little bit on the last podcast as well. So that is how I'm positioned, and let's take a look at why I'm now considering the trend as being bullish. Three tools that I use: Parabolic SAR, Ichimoku Cloud, and 50 and 200 EMAs on the 4-hour are all bullish. Therefore, I believe that we are in a bull trend based on how I measure it. It all comes down to how you measure it. If you're a day trader, you only care about today's trend, and therefore, if today the price goes up 5%, it's a bull trend, and it doesn't matter what happened over the last few months. Whereas for me, I'm a swing trader, and I was viewing all of this as a bear market, like a lot of people weren't, because of those tools. Bearish Ichimoku Cloud, bearish Parabolic SAR, bearish moving averages for the most part. So this was a bear trend for me, and this is the beginning of a bull trend for me, due to how I measure trend. First of all, right here, moving average crossover. That's first sign that we are entering, that we are reversing. But it's only the first sign. There can be a lot of chop and whipsaw. That's why I will definitely use some other tools and some other time frames. So we got the moving average crossover on the 4-hour. We got the big breakthrough of the Parabolic SAR. I think this actually happened live on air last time when I was streaming. We broke through it as that was happening, and that was very exciting for me. I'd been waiting for that for a long time. Again, bull trend, bear trend, bull trend. Pretty simple and very highly effective way to measure trend. Okay. Ichimoku Cloud made a post on Twitter after this closed, saying that the cloud is now fully bullish. And it was sure cool to see that strong reaction right after the cloud signaled an entry on this candle. So been following this closely as another one of my favorite trend measuring techniques. Get a bullish TK cross. This is the cloud's signal to go ahead and exit shorts. It doesn't signal entering long, it signals exiting shorts. And then after the bullish TK cross, we did re-enter the cloud. We got a bullish Kumo twist, and then we closed above the cloud. And this is something that could have been easy to miss, being that it was a red candle that broke through the cloud. The price went down and we actually closed above the cloud, and that's how the cloud will work sometimes, is as the cloud comes down, price can just go sideways, or price can even go down itself and still break out of the cloud. So right here, cloud was fully bullish because we closed above the cloud. Here it was very close, but we didn't close above it. Here we did. So that's where the long is signaled based on the Ichimoku cloud. So I had a signal from MSR telling me to buy like 81.50. We have a signal from the Ichimoku cloud saying that the trend is now bullish and that it is now time to buy at 8100 or so. And then we also had the weekly parabolic SAR reverse around 8,000. So from 8,000 to 82, every one of my favorite tools was telling me to buy. And that's a situation where not only did I buy, but I bought big because everything was lining up. And not only everything that I just outlined there, but also, let's see here. I guess I don't have this one favorited. I believe we talked about the Bitcoin logarithmic growth curves in the last episode, and that is what has been most important to me as we resisted the median right here after finding support here. This is the main reason why throughout all of this I was expecting a return to the mid sixes because we had strong support from horizontal and then strong support from the critical log curve kind of trend line here. So we tested that, which was the target after resisting here, and came down, formed a bullish reversal pattern, and got a buy signal from all of my favorite tools at basically the same price. So for me, that was like everything lighting up, like a slot machine hitting 777 or something like that. And it was a situation where not only did I buy, but I wanted to bet very big. I'd been calling this potentially the best buying opportunity since 2017. It remains to be seen if I'm right. Potentially we just turn around from here, break down, go down below 6K. I end up maybe making a little if I trim, or losing some if I don't. It's still early on, but I am feeling pretty darn confident that this was the bottom, and those buy signals hopefully will provide a safe entry. So yeah, that's why I was very interested in buying those prices, not only because all my favorite tools were telling me to do so, but also because of this log curve adoption kind of trend line. So now I guess we can get into real quickly one of the main reasons why I'm expecting Bitcoin to retest all-time highs by July of this year. So when you test the median and find resistance, the target is the bottom part, and then once you find support there, the target is the median. So getting back up to all-time high territory somewhere in the next 6 months to retest this median makes all the sense in the world to me, not just because of this log curve channel, but also because of some other metrics. So let's go check out my profile. Last post I made on TradingView was why it was while I was buying the dip down there at 78, and I shared this Wyckoff accumulation showing just a textbook setup with the signal of strength, hoping to see consolidation on top of the prior resistance, leading to another leg up. As we saw, we didn't quite get that bull flag. I was really hoping for it. Instead, we got back. I guess I need to. Instead, we got this throwback, and then it just kind of, instead of doing what I was wanting to see like that, I just kind of consolidated in the middle instead of returning back, which was actually maybe a little bit more bullish than forming a bull pennant. So that worked out really great. And title of the post, why I believe Bitcoin will retest all-time highs by July 1 of 2020. So let's just go ahead and check that out. Let's see here. A couple things that I'm looking for. I guess just one thing specifically. That's this chart here, which shows all this is right here is me drawing lines every 6 months. Every 6 months starting at the beginning of the year, January 1, 2018, and then July 1, January 1, July, January. And what you'll notice is that the market really likes to find major tops and bottoms around that 6 month mark. So January 1, 2018 was at or very near the top of that run-up. And then January 1, 2019 was at or very near the bottom of that bear market. And then 6 months later, July 1, 2019, was at or very near the top of that bull run. So following that pattern, I thought that perhaps January 1, 2020 would be the bottom of this bear market, and that 6 months later we would find another kind of local top right around the median of that log curve adoption channel, which also lines up with what we tend to see around the halving. Generally, during the halving, prices around prior all-time highs, and the halving is about 5 months away if I'm remembering correctly. So getting back up to all-time high territory about 6 months from now makes a lot of sense to me. The one area where maybe a cause for concern is this 6 month period didn't signal any sort of bottom. It was just like the middle of the bear. So this being a much shorter bear makes me think I don't think we'll have two of these, like a full another year, because of the shorter bull than we had. So I expect a shorter bear. So that 6 month at July 1 would be a very logical place for the next local top to come in. So that is what I am going to be hoping for and trading for. Basically, that I'm going to definitely be planning on holding on to a good amount of long exposure over the first 2 quarters of 2020. That is my plan, and it is good to have a plan to just kind of be mentally prepared for if I'm planning on holding on to this position for 6 months. That just helps me to really prepare mentally, opposed to being too much on the edge of my seat every day. So I've sure been going on here for a while. Let me take a look at the chat, have a drink of water, and then we'll move on. Howdy, Business of Vintage, Brian Kelly, Fiboswani, Jorge Duert, Moonshine Fuel. Thank you guys for participating in the chat. Kiji says halving is 3.8 months away. Is that real? Huh, yeah, that is much closer than I thought. Wow, that's interesting. Is that getting faster? Or, I feel like I remember that being closer to June the last time I checked. So that is good to know. Very good to know. Thanks for pointing that out. Can you please look at Bitcoin Cash? Probably not. Got a lot else that I want to cover, but I'll keep that in mind. What about Litecoin? Maybe I might be able to do that. Jorge says, nice hoodie. Thank you. I appreciate it. This is definitely one of my favorites. Neeraj has Dad Cerrone. That's a bold prediction. I think he's going to have his hands full. You better pack a full lunch. Okay. Extra hash rate came online. That makes sense, making the approaching halving come up that much quicker. Okay, so as I said, right now I am viewing this as a situation where I'm wanting to trim about 20% of my long exposure. That will hedge my bet and make it such that if the market fully reverses and dumps from here, I should still have a little bit of profit in my pocket. Maybe I end up just breaking even, but after the first move goes in my favor, I want to take about 20% off the table, and that really is a good way to manage risk for positions that are that take off in your favor originally, but then end up reversing and coming back and triggering a stop loss at maybe a similar or worse price than where you entered. So that's what I have been thinking about the last couple of days, and to be honest, this is one of the hardest things for me with trading. Is like when I'm entering and exiting, it's generally pretty darn objective and straightforward. Here's my signal, I'm taking it, boom, there it is. Whereas trimming, it's like, do I take profit here after this move? Do I hold? Do I start taking after it looks like we're reversing? Do I start taking profit here? Do I wait? Trying to figure out when to hold on and when to take a little bit of profit is really it's a pretty anxious feeling. Sitting here watching the markets, trying to figure out, is this going to give me a better price to take some profit, or is this where I need to be selling? So that's where I will use a number of tools like the TD sequential, like trend lines, like patterns, like horizontals. So number of things I'm keeping my eye on, trying to figure out where is going to be my opportunity to go ahead and hedge myself by taking some profit. So am seeing a rising wedge on the 4-hour. We do see that as it's kind of climbed up here, we have it on decreasing volume. Price going up and volume declining is definitely a sign of a local top. So this is something that I'll be keeping a close eye on. If we do break this down, that'll tell me it's probably time to go ahead and trim a little bit. If we do break it to the upside, this is a pattern that I think is tradable both ways. If it breaks to the upside, then I would be measuring a move. Let's see. What's that? $500? No, that's significantly more. What is 85 minus 76? So we'll say that's like 850 would be the measured move. If we broke this to the upside, it could indicate a move to like 9,800. And if that happens, I would be very confidently selling, taking a good amount of profit. If we do make another leg up from here, I really do think it would be time to sell. I'm really hopeful that that happens, and if it does, I'll probably be taking more than 20% off the table, maybe closer to 50, with the plan of buying back on a pullback. And if we don't make another leg up, then I'll probably just be closer to 20%, again with the plan of buying on a pullback. So rising wedge isn't great, but those things can break to the upside, and when it does, the market will probably move very fast and sharp. So that will be something that I am paying attention to. Let's see here. Something else would be a potential new bull channel. If instead of drawing it as a wedge, you want to say that this is a bull channel, I could see why. That would be very reasonable. You've got this median that has been very important. And then you've got these touch points here connecting a parallel line to the top, even though it doesn't have any touch points yet. Could be a good way to go about it, and say that if we do make another move to the upside, this top trend line would be a likely area of resistance in the 94 area or so. So there's a number of reasons why I would be very interested in selling 94 to 96, this potential new channel, this horizontal the daily TD sequential, the 2-day TD sequential, and then that rising wedge, if it breaks to the upside, would tell me that 9,600 around there would be a high probability area for this thing to find a local top, and that's a situation where I want to be. If I'm able to sell near the local top, then it makes it much easier to buy back on a pullback. If I sell here and then we take off on another leg up, pullback probably won't even get back to the price that I'm selling. That's the thing. That's why it's really tricky, and if you do it right, you can sell high and buy back low and really improve your cost basis. If you do it wrong, you end up minimizing a position that's really moving in your favor, and that's something that on the one hand you don't want to be greedy, but on the other hand, you know, if you're doing that too much, it's really, you can't be cutting your winning trades off at the knees. If you're doing that, you could be trading a profitable system like MSR and still not making much money or even losing money if you're constantly cutting the winning trades off too soon. Then you know you're not going to be properly accounting for the times that you end up losing. You know, maybe it'll turn into like a break-even situation instead of a winning situation. Okay, so that's the rising wedge. Keeping my eye on this rounded bottom. Something like that. Very bullish kind of bottoming pattern. I don't know if you want to use this over here or this up here. Let's see. You could use both. Either way, I think I prefer that. This is something I really like seeing, and could be just the first sign of a parabola kind of starting when you form this sort of, yeah, I think maybe that is the way to do it. Yeah, I like that. When you form this rounding bottom, if you're able to maintain support, then this could turn into a nice parabola. And in general, after we test that log curve trend line, we take off into a parabola. So keeping a close eye on this to see if this is going to be an important area of support. Keeping a close eye on the 50 and 200 EMAs, which are postured for a golden cross with the price above the 200 and the 50 angled up and approaching the 200. And now I will show you what I'm hoping to see. There's one situation how this could play out, which would just be ideal as far as I'm concerned, and would provide another really great setup to long or add to long exposure. So what I am hoping for is that. And there are a couple of reasons. Let's draw this again. There we go. Okay. So, where's that stinking arrow? It says there's an arrow. There clearly isn't. That's stupid. This arrow's broken. what are you going to do? So there are a number of things that this would accomplish if we could do this sort of action. First of all, if we can make another move up here, like I said, I think this would be a very high probability place to take some profit. When I say high probability, I mean that I think I would be able to buy back at a cheaper price. If we move from here and get on a daily 8 or a 9 with price up here around 97, 98, then that would be a situation where I would be selling it pretty darn hard due to primarily horizontal and then also moving averages. As price gets above moving averages that have a bearish crossover, it really makes it hard for them to price to continue moving up. It's going to be very much wanting to pull back and test those, and that's where you get the classic pull back and into a golden cross. And I'm actually going to draw that again just because there's something else that needs to be right. So, ooh, and maybe now I got the arrow. Okay, so if we make this move up to the 96 area, while these still have a bearish cross, that's going to be price overbought at horizontal resistance with these moving averages kind of weighing them down. And in that situation, what I would be expecting is for a pullback and into a golden cross to occur. Something like that. So the first thing that this would accomplish, if we're able to break through here, go up to 96, that would violate the trend line and would, I would say that the trend line is then broken if we're able to do that. And then a pullback to the like 8,300 area or so would be a retest of the trend line, and that would be happening as price pulls back and into a golden cross. As it stands right now, I mean, if we reverse right now and fall back below the 200, then the cross ain't going to happen, at least for a while. So reversing now would really put that in danger. We really want price to continue. The more time that price spends above these moving averages, or the higher it gets above the moving averages, the more likely it is for them to get across. So here's a situation where if we can go sideways or make another leg up, then we're going to have a high probability for this golden cross. My favorite setup in trading is a trend line break with a golden cross. If you get moving averages to cross as the trend line is breaking, that tells you the trend is changing, and that that following pullback could be a great spot to go ahead and enter. So if we can make another leg up, it would be high probability that we do get a golden cross, and in my mind it would also be high probability that we either go sideways or pull back and into it. And then if that does happen, it would create just a beautiful cup and handle. So still a lot for this to come together, but might as well have dreams and hopes, because if this does happen, I think it will provide some really great opportunities for profit taking, re-entering, and even adding. So that is definitely what I am really wanting to see as we are kind of nearing a point of exhaustion and testing the top of this trend line. Okay. One more chart and then we'll jump into alts. And this isn't my chart. This is a chart from @Josh_Rager. And it's a really good chart, I think. And not only because it's lines up very neatly with what I'm expecting, but also because it uses different tools. So he says fixed range volume profile, and I did retweet this. You can find it on my timeline if you want, or you can go to his timeline. So Fixed range volume profile shows the importance of point of control for a major range to act as support. Basically, the point of control is where there was the most volume at a certain price. Where did the most volume occur? In 2018, the most volume occurred at 6,400. What about 2019? Most volume occurred at 10,100. So what he points out is how the point of control from 2018 at 64 provided support for this bear market here. It seems to have, at this point anyways, point of control, and then bottom occurred right there. And then what he's showing here is that this run-up goes all the way to 10,100 to 2019's point of control before pulling back. And notice how he's got this same cup and handle that I'm hoping for. His maybe even better because it gets all the way up to 10,000, which would be an even bigger target. So this is right in line with what I'm hoping, what I'm wanting, what I'm expecting if I had to make a prediction. Right here, nice run up to horizontal. Maybe it's the point of control that's the most important and not the other things I was looking at 10,100 for it to resist there, pull back and into a daily golden cross, and then take out that point of control and turn it into support. And then also notice how he has price right at all-time highs on July 1 of 2020. So it's pretty crazy how nicely this lines up with my outlook and how it uses none of the same tools that I use. So kind of cool. Okay. First thing we're going to want to do is, I guess, take another look at chat, see if there's questions, and we'll move on. Ethereum Classic question mark. I might pull that up briefly. I do have it written down. It's something to take a look at. Man, a lot of people in chat that don't think McGregor's going to win. I wish I could get an even money bet with any of you guys. That would be awesome. Okay. Do you still believe BTC can go back to phase 1? I covered that in a recent show titled Bitcoin Hyperwave Update. Anything can happen. I don't think it's probable. Okay. All right, let's move on. What about 200 MA support? I don't really use simple moving averages, so take that for what it's worth. Okay. So we're taking a look at the Bitcoin market cap dominance chart, BTC.D. And here is the channel that it has been in. Median support, resistance, support, and we just broke it down. So that means that the target is what? A return to the bottom trend line. So this is a pretty bullish chart for alts, saying that BTC dominance, the target is 63, we'll call it, depending on the rate at which it moves. I guess we could do that. Maybe it's 66 if it keeps just slowly grinding down. Either would be nice, either 66 or 63 because it lines up with horizontals. So looking for BTC dominance to return somewhere down in here, bottom of this channel. And it will be very important what happens to see if Bitcoin can continue to regain its dominance like it has over the last 2 years. Just kind of noticing the cycles that happen in the time, like in 2017, in 1 year, it went from up here to down here, and then at the beginning of the year, it bottomed. Not much happened here, so we've had 2 years of a bull trend for Bitcoin against alts. Is Bitcoin going to be able to maintain that? I think we won't know until we see what happens at the bottom of this channel. If this channel does provide support, then we should keep climbing back up. climbing back up. If this does break down, then that would signal a shift in the trend. Resistance from the 200-week moving average. Might we be getting squeezed in between a golden cross? If you resist the 200 and then support the 50, what will happen is these come together and price gets stuck in between, and then price gets squeezed into a golden cross and pops. So something to keep in mind. Potential support from the 200-day EMA. Definitely something to keep in mind. Just broke the weekly SAR. So a lot of things saying that we're moving down on Bitcoin market cap dominance, and that maybe it's a good time to be long alts against USD, BTC, or both. What else do we have? Trying to think of anything else I want to look at. Pulling up MSR, seeing how it's working. That sure wasn't a good signal. It tried to reverse off the median and it didn't. So yeah, when you try to reverse off something like that and don't, it will often provide some bad signals like we saw there. Okay, so that's everything I want to see on the market cap dominance, I believe. Let's take a look at Ethereum against US dollar. Using Poloniex, it's got long history. Something I've been looking at over the last week is Ethereum and kind of wondering what's happening with its adoption curve. And the answer, the conclusion that I came to is not a good one for lovers of altcoins. So like I said on Bitcoin, that adoption trend line was the most important market structure, the most important chart for me for Bitcoin, and I am thinking the same thing about this chart on Ethereum, that this is the most important. And it's hard to get it drawn exactly right. That's why I like that tool so much. I'm not sure why it only works on Bitcoin, but that seems to be the case. So here we can draw it like this. There's really no way to draw it that keeps price in it. I mean, you would have to really be fudging things to say that we're still above. And the reason why is, I mean, this thing is basically now has a negative slope. You can't have that, you can have a negative slope here unless you're saying that, yep, we are rolling over and now this is going to be a bearish sort of, we saw the rounding bottom on Bitcoin. Maybe this is the opposite where it's like a rounding top. So maybe that's what you do. I think that the best way to view it is like so. Something like this, where we are now appearing to potentially throw back and into to retest prior support for resistance. So ETH has recently made a big move. I do own some, and it has been exciting to watch it move in my favor, but it is too soon to get overexcited about altcoins. This is a situation where perhaps there are some very bearish things that could happen, and that this is only some sort of trap to get people to buy in at or near the top. And the first very bearish thing that could happen would be a throwback and turning this into resistance. Because what we could say still is that, yeah, price did fall below this adoption curve trend line, but maybe it's just a trap. There will be times where you have significant boundaries and price falls below and then quickly retraces back above and takes off. Like maybe this absolutely could still be a trap where it's just a fake breakdown and then price rolls up and takes off. So if we do get back above this adoption curve trend line, now I'm going to start feeling really good about some high prices for Ethereum. But if we throw back and resist that, that would be a very, very bad sign. Something else to keep an eye on. Is going to be a couple trend lines here. First one that you would draw is like that. That was broken. And now you're wondering if a new one is establishing itself. So another bearish thing that could happen here is that we don't even throw back to retest that. Instead, we just resist this trend line here, basically like today or tomorrow, around 176. So definitely will be keeping my eye on this trend line here, as well as this trend line here. And let's see. Okay, so that kind of covers the bearish perspectives. Let's see if having trouble figuring out where that top trend line should go, what I'll often do is draw a bear channel like so, saying that that's probably how it should be drawn, not even connecting to either of these, just connecting these lows and putting a parallel line up here and noticing how the median is an important area. Tells me that this is probably the best way to be looking at it. It's like that. And let's take it off the log chart and see what we see. So those were kind of the bearish outlook. The ETH USD log chart looks quite bearish. The ETH USD regular chart, what's the opposite of log? I can't believe I can't remember that. Whatever. The regular chart, there's some very bullish arguments to be made. And the first thing that I am seeing is price potentially establishing a higher low right here that is very close to this low that occurred in December of 2018. And if that's the case, if we do establish this higher low right here, then there is a strong argument to be made that we are forming a big W, which is a very bullish pattern, which would come with some big targets. You can check out Google Bulkowski Big W, or just go to the pattern site and search Big W, thepatternsite.com. And this is what a Big W is. You sell off, dead cat bounce, double bottom, and then take off back to where that started. So Big W chart pattern right here. How about that? And in the tweet that I shared this link to the Today Show, I mentioned how I'm going to share reasons why I'm still skeptical of alts, and that's exactly what I am. I'm very skeptical right now because we're, as far as I'm concerned, at a do-or-die zone. This is where if ETH can establish a double bottom and potentially get back above that log curve trend line, and specifically get back above 220, then it's going to be in a position where it could really take off and have some really big targets. For this big W to be confirmed, you need to take out this high here at 390 or so. So this is a situation where when we do get a big W, I've talked about this before, is I will generally be buying right in here, because that's where my trend metrics will start turning bullish, is kind of at this area. So if I am seeing this look like it's developing a higher low and look like it may lead into some sort of big W, I do want to see my trend metrics reflecting as much. And that is what has been happening. Why is that moving average on there? Something's going on with TradingView today, I think. I guess it just wants to have that moving average. I don't know what's going on. It's been a long week. So yeah. Here is the signals on Ethereum. Says close short 148, open long 143. That's exactly what I did. So I'm now holding on to a very nice profitable position, and it's leading me to believe that we could be, really establishing. Oh, it wasn't a moving average; it was my big W lines. LOL. So seeing that, I'm thinking we are establishing a higher low, and kind of wondering, are we just doing the same thing we did here, where this could have looked like a higher low, we're taking off, and then boom, we dump. I'm trying to figure out, is this actually turned into a higher low, or is this something that's just going to be like this? Here we didn't get any buy signals from MSR, and here we are. So that's what I want to see, is as we actually do establish this double bottom that's a higher low, which makes the big W even more bullish if it's a higher low instead of a double bottom. Seeing those buy signals is a very good sign, and makes me think that this could be what's going to happen. So basically, I will be hoping to hold on to my long for some prices like this, but I'm not going to be, I'll be hedging myself on the way up, and would potentially look to add if we do confirm the big W with a break above 390. This could be an area where I look to add, and anywhere down in here, I am just kind of mostly concerned with hedging my long exposure by taking partial profit. Let's see here. And this is where I will be very interested in taking profit. I mentioned that ETH specifically needs to get above 220, and I firmly believe that is the do or die level. If it's above 220, I'm no longer going to be skeptical. I'm probably going to be very, very bullish, like I am Bitcoin. But if it does reject below 220, it's going to be very hard for it to get above that level. There's a lot of built-up resistance. That's where the most volume at price has occurred since it broke through like $10. So here at 215 to 220, basically let's just say 200 to 220 is the critical level, and absolutely where, like I said, if Bitcoin makes another leg up, I'm going to be looking to take profit a good amount. Same goes for Ethereum, and even more so. If this does make another leg up to that 220 area, 200 area over the next couple days, I may be darn close to fully exiting, because that's a situation where if it happens in the next couple days, I would really expect that to hold as resistance and provide me an opportunity to buy back cheaper. If it takes a couple weeks and we just kind of slowly grind up, that's a much, much different situation. So big W in altcoins is what I am seeing, and I am liking. I don't like altcoins, but I love big W's. here is Litecoin. If we get back above here, 144, then this would be the target. It's not the target until you break through here. But when it's looking like such a nice setup, I might preemptively start using that as an idea for, you know, where I could hold on to my exposure until. And Litecoin got a beautiful buy signal recently on MSR. Look at that beauty. Price pulled back into the buy signal right there before she took off. So it's been seeing some great signals from MSR on this last run, and that is sure good to see. Definitely glad that people are making money after signing up and paying me money for it. It could have definitely started out on some bad signals, and that wouldn't have been nearly as fun. So okay, I will be definitely feeling pretty good about this, seeing that we get some buy signals around here, seeing that the trend's actually turning bullish, forming a higher low, looking really dang good. Something that's crazy is ETC has already confirmed its big W. I got this alert the other day. I've set alerts for all those big W's because I want to know when they hit, basically. And when the ETC alert came through, I about fell out of my chair. I couldn't believe it. It's like, how could it already be up at those levels while we're on the other coins still very far away? So not quite as clean, but still there. I mean, the part that matters is this area here, the double bottom area. This left part of the W isn't as clean as the last two we saw, but that doesn't matter as much. I mean, that's still very qualified as far as I'm concerned. What's interesting is how ETC swept the lows. Instead of forming a higher low, what it did was this wick right here came down and stopped everybody out that was using this low as their stop. So not only has it rallied much faster and gotten all the way up to actually confirm this, so target is for ETC $23. Like it or hate it, that's just a target from a pattern that, you know, that's it. It's a pattern that has been confirmed. So now we have a target, and it's not 100% that we get to the target. Seeing if there's any data here that tells us. Bull market performance over the decades. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. Volume recedes 70% of the time. It doesn't tell us how often it gets to the target. Here, maybe. Break even failure rate, average rise, median rise, throwback, percentage, meeting price target, 80%. That's what I was thinking, somewhere in that range. So when you confirm, confirmation happens when you get above D. You don't close, you just break above it, and it's confirmed. And 80% of the time it gets the price target. So that's a very high probability of ETC getting to like $25. I didn't get in on the MSR signal down in here, so I'm not interested really in, it's tough to say. I mean, this is a big W that's confirming. I'm pretty much always interested in big Ws that confirm. Yeah, that is very interesting. So maybe, you know, it confirmed and now it's immediately pulling back and it's going to break down and go lower. Maybe. Stop loss would be for me the bottom of the confirming candle. So this is the candle that confirms the pattern. Stop loss would be the bottom of that candle. So pretty dang significant risk. Entering right now gives us 35% risk. Target's 200. So what, like 7 to 1 risk reward? That's the type of stuff I love. Yeah, so that's a pretty chart, and it makes me wonder, is ETC leading the way? Are others going to follow? Something I'm thinking about for sure. Okay, well, I am officially through with everything I wanted to cover. I am officially out of breath. I'll take one last look at the charts, the chat, and then I will be calling it a day, getting ready to watch some UFC fights. Okay, why are alts retracing? Not really sure what to say there. Can you show XRP? Not really feeling it. Next Saturday is Chinese New Year. That's good to know. Okay. Bitcoin dumped Chinese New Year 2018 and 2019. Yeah, that was bear market too. Over the next couple of years, it may pump because we'll be in a bull market. At least that's what I think. The dump has started, they say. Okay, I guess it's time for me to get back to some charts. Sure doesn't look like the dump has started to me. Looks like a lot of nothing is happening. Let me just get a short time frame chart up real quick and then call it a day. Pretty darn bullish setup here. Something I love to see. I talked about seeing moving average crossovers that occur when a trend line gets broken, specifically the daily 50 and 200. Crossing as this long bear channel is broken would be just an ideal setup. Something else that I love seeing is bullish patterns that occur under thresholds. So here the threshold is clearly that trend line that I have drawn. I explained why at the beginning of the episode, why it's drawn this way. And now you could say that we're forming a symmetrical triangle. I think I prefer to say it's a ascending triangle with horizontal resistance and support going up and up. So we have been stuck in this range for about a couple days now, doing a whole lot of nothing, but it's ready to make a big move one way or the other. If we confirm this ascending triangle, then we should break out of that channel and hopefully make a leg up to 96. And if we break this down, this trend line down right here, then it would indicate to me that the top of the bear channel held as resistance and that we should expect some sort of pullback down into these levels here. So definitely going to be watching some small time frames closely, seeing what happens. Are we just going to continue getting squeezed in here? The longer we get squeezed in this range, the quicker and bigger the following move would be expected to be. So yeah, I don't think any breakdown has started yet. I think we're just still consolidating in this tight range. It'll be interesting to see. It looks pretty bullish to me. Higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. This is even a higher high above here. So yeah, looks pretty good to me. I'm really hoping for one more leg up. I would be very interested in selling that. And as it stands right now, I'm just not really interested in either option. Both are pretty tough, holding or trimming. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for me. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and for kind words and feedback that I've been getting. That is greatly appreciated. I guess before ending the screen share, just we'll show a couple things real quickly. First of all, we'll be in Vegas for an advanced consensio workshop at Unconfiscatable. Here's the tweet I'm looking for. Friday, February 21st, 12 p.m. It'll be about consensio and the MSR indicator. Everybody that does sign up for the workshop gets immediate access to the indicator as well as the Telegram chat group. So cost for the workshop's $500. That's the same as the cost for the indicator. So if you have, if you're able to attend Vegas, it's a really good deal as far as I'm concerned, getting not only the indicator but also the workshop. And if you are just interested in purchasing the indicator itself, you can go to Sawcruhteez.com. There is a link in the description. Pretty straightforward. The website has one page, and it is just a basically sales page for the MSR indicator that walks through, you know, why it might be something that could be useful to complement the other tools that you have. So go on over there if you are interested in seeing more about the indicator that I use to signal my entries and the those long and short signals that you see printed on my charts from MSR. Okay, that is everything I wanted to talk about. Thank you guys again for tuning in. It's been a very exciting couple of weeks for Bitcoin, a great start to the new year, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. I think these next few months are just going to be very exciting for Bitcoin. We've got the halving coming up, and I would expect a lot of volatility, and I think this will be a situation that will present a lot of opportunities, and hopefully we can find ourselves on the right side of those. So thanks again for tuning in. Smash those likes, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the notification bell so that you know when I'm jumping on. It's going to be irregular moving forward, going for about once a week. So also keep an eye out for stuff on TradingView and Twitter. I am at Sawcruhteez on all of those platforms, and I do my best to regularly post charts there to complement the analysis that I provide on YouTube. So thank you all for tuning in, and hopefully you guys will be watching the fights later with me. Should be very exciting, and I will end it by saying let's go Conor McGregor.